Christina. Okay, so we have two special guests tonight. And one of them, we only see him when he's down at the FDR Park, working his butt off.
So far north.
We had to get his passport renewed for him to come north. Howard is a great friend, and he's worked at the FDR Park since when did you start at the park?
June 1st, 2016.
Okay, 8 whole years. So 9 years.
Yeah.
9 years. Congratulations. We will not ask how many administrations you've been through.
RIHS administration?
No, FDR Park administrations. Well, Howard also has worked in other not-for-profits, but I think I've known him this time, and I think he has the most challenging job in the world because they put on all these wonderful shows, wonderful exhibits, dealing with artists and people who are, so we say challenging sometimes?
Never.
Always. Always. And so I always look at him the week before, he's going, I can't take it anymore. So, but I mean, he's not a resident of the island, but you're almost a resident.
I'm a resident of the F train.
The F train. Okay. And Christina Delfico, we all know, she's the girl from Los Angeles. She's an LA girl.
Yay.
She grew up there.
Yay.
Her father worked in the aerospace industry, and apparently living there, she was busy in the beach, in the pool, and digging up gardens and things.
Indeed.
And how many years have you been on the island?
Well, my grandmother and grandpa were pioneers, so visiting since the 70s.
Your grandparents lived
When I
on?
was like 4 years old, yeah.
Okay, we understand. We won't discuss it. So anyhow, and you know, she's done all this. She also had a wonderful career with Children's Television Workshop.
Yes.
I know. She took me to see them where they make Muppets once, and it was really sad to see the eyeballs and the body parts
They're
strewn all
alive,
over.
they're alive, they're alive, they're real people.
They were strewn all over a building on Northern Boulevard. Is that where the creation is? Okay, I was sworn to secrecy. This is like when I went to Disney World and I went backstage. I went to Disney World and I went backstage and they showed me Mickey and Minnie having a smoke with their heads off. The same kind of feeling.
Sesame Street Muppets would never.
Oh, they don't smoke?
No, absolutely not.
Do they inhale?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so let's start with Howard, a question. Since you've been here all these years, and how did you find us? How did they find you? Here, have a microphone so it's easier.
Do I need a mic or can you all hear me? Mic? Or?
Lift up the,
Boop, boop, boop. Hair check.
hair check.
Hello. Well, before I answer your wonderful questions, thank you, Judy. I just want to say you're kind of copying SNL 50 with Roosevelt Island 50. So I ran into Rick today at lunch and he suggested I be Chevy Chase and fall off the chair. Welcome to Roosevelt Island 50. Congratulations. One of the questions, how did I find you? I mean, it's just like a career story, but Rose Harvey was the Parks Commissioner when I was stopping working for Muhammad Yunus, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for co-inventing the idea of microfinance, so small loans to women to start businesses. So I had left that, and I called Rose and said, Rose, I need a job. And she said, well, you like history, you like the outdoors, controlled outdoors, very controlled outdoors. And I talked to Bill Vandenheuvel, who all of you know, for the good times and the not so good times with the construction of that and all the things that happened before me. And after you meet with Bill Vandenheuvel, you just say yes. So I did, my first interview was with the then CEO, and it was on a Wednesday. And of course, the only reason I ever came to Roosevelt Island before this was to play at the incredible tennis courts.
Oh yeah,
which are some of the best courts I think in New York City.
Yeah.
I won't say because you might see. But they're incredible courts. And so I walked down, it was a Tuesday, and I looked through the gate because apparently FDR 4 Freedom State Park is closed on Tuesdays. So I hadn't done my research, and I looked through the gates, and so I went to my interview on Wednesday and said, boy, that's a beautiful park. I can't believe how gorgeous that is. And I live in Carroll Gardens, half a block from the F train. So I was like, this is perfect. It goes right there. So that's how it all started. It was really Rose, and then coincidentally, I knew Rose was commissioner for a few years, and then Eric Hulisay was the New York State Parks Commissioner, who had been, I hope he sees this, he was my intern at the Trust for Public Land. So of course he became commissioner, and my career took a slightly different route. So that's how I initially found it, but you know, I'm not an architect, not a designer, not an engineer, but I thought the park was overwhelmingly spectacular, but I think it was missing just a few elements. And I think Ai Weiwei felt the same. He came out in November, at the end of November, on a great morning. He said, this park needs a little bit more fun in it. And then I quoted Judy talking about the room as the cement coffin. Is that that wasn't you?
No.
Anyway, it's on tape.
Thank God.
What did you say? What did you say?
I would never say that.
So, in thinking about the job, I just thought, programming. How can we inspire a conversation around the 4 freedoms? The program before me was, we did stuff like we hired bands, and there were local dances, and the problem is that it's outdoors. So the last year we did the 4 musical series, we canceled 2 of them because it was raining.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and Bill called me and said, I want to do a symposium for history teachers so they can all really learn more about FDR, you know, the January 6th speech, 1941, Lend-Lease, and then didn't start until March of that year, and then of course Pearl Harbor was December. So, you know, that was his real intent when he was thinking about building this park and raised the $50 million approximately to build it. I was like, Bill, there's no roof. We can't do things like symposiums. There's no water fountain, there's no public bathrooms, and there's no roof. So after a few years, really just seeing which modality worked best, you know, landed on what was already happening a lot in Roosevelt Island, really the island of art. And, you know, really inspired by some of the first art commissions we did, and then it fits so nicely into Roosevelt Island's incredible dedication to art, both under Susan and then the subsequent. Susan was the first presidency of RIHS when I got here, so it was a good time. She was very supportive after we were doing an education program at the time, and school buses would drive through South Point Park. Cy was not happy. We didn't tell Cy, really. Cy was not happy. He just didn't want his red buses to go through and get scratched, but he didn't care as much about scratching the school buses. But I think it was my second week as CEO, and I get an email from Susan. It's like, what the are their school buses doing driving through South Point Park? I was like, Susan, we've had our education program with public school kids since we opened in 2012. She was like, okay, let's talk about this. So yeah, that's long answers to short questions, and I'll hand it back to
Chris,
you.
okay. Now, after you left California,
Wow.
before you started digging gardens on Roosevelt Island,
I'm off the hook.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so a little bit about your background. After 20 years with puppets, you have to tell us something.
Oh my goodness, yeah. All right.
You're gonna hear it all here.
We only have 40 minutes.
Oh, okay, all right. I guess my most memorable Muppet meeting was when, you know, I was an executive producer, vice president for Sesame Workshop, previously Children's Television Workshop, and Joan Gans Cooney and Lloyd Morissette were the founders of that. And I just remember sitting in a meeting. We were planning to go to the Hollywood Bowl, and I guess because I was from California, I was in charge or something like that. And we were in the meeting and they were talking about the band shell, which is also outdoors, 18,000 people. And they wanted Marilyn Horn, who we had, which was very exciting. She's a very, very interesting. And we had Big Bird and Brian Stokes Mitchell. So really like a little Broadway, a little this, a little that, a little Muppet Fur. And we were in the meeting, we were talking about what if it rains, what should we do? And the Muppet handler, who's my birthday twin, says, oh, well, they cannot be ambiently wet in any way. And I'm like, ambiently wet? I'm like, this is so, I never thought I'd actually hear that phrase in a meeting, you know what I mean? So anyway, we went out to Hollywood Bowl. It was going to be, it was 4th of July. We were going to do 3 concerts in a row, musical concerts with the Pops, the LA Pops, I guess it was, I don't know. So a huge orchestra. So I'm in the elevator in California with the gentleman, Carol Spinney, who plays Big Bird, and I turned to him and said, so you guys have done this before, right? Like, 3 nights in a row, big concert, 18,000 people. He says, no, never. And I'm like, okay, this is gonna be great. And long story short, we had a fantastic 3 nights, and my only very frightening moment was we did our rehearsal, which you do a couple days in a row, make sure everything works and all the mics are set up for the orchestra, and we're all ready for an 8 o'clock show. And it's the afternoon, we're kind of walking around the stage, and I see an entire other orchestra show up. And I said, what's going on? We have a show at 8. We've done the mic check, everything's perfect. Oh, well, for extra money, we rent it out to others and they get to use it in between shows. I said, in between shows? I said, but how do all the mics get back to what we just tested? They're like, oh, it'll be fine. And of course, it wasn't exactly fine, but did anyone really notice? No. I mean, we knew what it was supposed to sound like. I guess no one else really did. But at least the head of Disney at that point, Bob Iger, and his wife and family came and they were thrilled. So I guess that's all that really mattered.
Well, I'm sure we always have had, Howard, you have to tell me how many different facades there have been on the steps. Ooh. Well, everyone remember, the steps? Poppies?
Flag.
There was the 2018, when World Pride was here, 2018, so there was the Pride flag. But it was inspired because, to earn money, because charity certainly can't solve any or all problems. We have earned income by renting the park because of its location and with its beautifulness, and we work really closely with PSD to make that happen. Without them, because we couldn't do it at all. I was inspired. Vice Google did a documentary, rented the park, and did an opening for a documentary that focused on the fact that the internet is not available to like 4.3 billion people globally. So they were the first people to vinyl, to think of that, to vinyl the steps. I mean, Vice and Google, you figure they're pretty innovative, or certainly were at the time. And Vice is, I think, done. Yeah. So they did it with clouds. It was really cool. And then I found a great vinyl guy. So we did World Pride was first, and we did the Poppies for an event.
2017 for World War I.
Right, 2. Well, the Poppies were for World War I, but we did a World War II salute because Stacey Abrams, who was maybe gonna run for something, I kept waiting and waiting to honor her, and her schedule kept saying, just give us another week, just give us another week, and I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? It's too late now. So we did a tribute to the 75th anniversary of D-Day, when Attorney General. So we did the poppies, and then we did the 19th Amendment in 20, because that was the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which was 1920, which is insane to think about.
Wow.
The right to vote regardless of your sex is what the Constitution says. And then I had some board members saying, "You're really gonna put the word sex on the steps?" And I was like, I don't know, it's in the Constitution. Should I change the amendment language? Boards are terrific.
When did you do sunflowers?
We did sunflowers for because that was one of the unofficial image for the Susan B. Anthony time. They were using. Yes, so that was it's one of the flowers, and what was cool is that what we learned from Google was that you just vinyl the risers, not the treads, so that especially Pride, it was really cool because when you stood on the steps, it was like you were in the flag. So my best story from that was Nathaniel Kahn, who is a child of Lewis Kahn by Harriet Pattison, who worked in Lewis Kahn's office as a landscape architect. Nathaniel, who we were having some words, he's brilliant and passionate and knows a heck of a lot more about most things than I do. We were having words about something at some point before this, and I got a message that went on for 15 minutes because he had gone and just seen engagements happening on the steps, and had just seen this incredible joy, which isn't the first thing you think of when you think of FDR Four Freedoms Park with all that cement / really it's granite. So he just went on and on. Don't tell him, Rick, that I didn't listen to the entire message. But that was really inspiring, because to have him, who wants everything exactly like Lou wanted, and he was just very eloquent, like, this is exactly what my father would have wanted to see, all of these joyous people here coming together, a public space, a commons where they could really be outside. So that was inspiring. And then we did what's the other flag called? Progressive flag? With that triangle?
Yeah.
The full flag.
The full flag, thank you. The full flag, and what else have we done? Oh, we did the 150th year of New York State Park System. We vinyled.
Oh, right.
And then we used vinyls when our first art commission was Sean Leonardo, who now runs Socrates Park.
Yeah, I work with him, yeah.
Yeah, I know you do. I actually look at your website and newsletters. So he was the first artist, and he did these giant hands on the sides. We would get calls from Long Island City. Do you know there's massive graffiti on your park? It's like, oh no, we didn't know. Thank you so much for calling. But so we used vinyls that way, and then we used 4 vinyls, and when we did Yellow Bowls, Freedom from Fear, with Cecily Winchester, she was an artist who did 1 yellow tea bowl, she called them, for every 10,000 Japanese Americans that were interred in camps.
So powerful.
And there are many families that have been here for 5 generations. And Roosevelt was the president who signed that executive order. I think it's 1966 executive order. And I thought it was really important, and we did it during, I hate to say the words cherry blossom, but we did it during the Cherry Blossom Festival, because I thought it was really important while we were celebrating, because we were the host, for the stage and all the music, etc. So I just thought it was really important to tell more of the whole story of the U.S. and the whole story of FDR. So that was
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
That was really thoughtful to go deeper like that.
Yeah, it was a really fun. I guess it's probably the thing that I'm most proud of, because I love that dissonance, and I love the real history, what we were able to do, and you can do that in a public park. Can you imagine the machinations that you'd have to go through to do it at a museum? We can do it because New York State Parks has been incredibly supportive of what we're doing. So it was, we just told them what we were doing, and we're like, okay. So we've used vinyls a lot, even when we did Voices of Freedom, which we interviewed scholars from around the world that had been thrown out or had to leave their countries for different reasons, mostly political refugees that had come to the US, and we did something called Voices of Freedom that we worked with the Institute of International Education, IIE. So we worked with them to produce these soundtracks, and we put speakers in the trees in the forecourt. That's that area right before you get into the room that has a roof. And we did a lot of vinyls with that as well, because we wanted to, we had some of the stories were told in Spanish, so we did vinyls to translate. So vinyls have been really great, and yeah, but we got a little tired of vinyls. Then we used a huge vinyls for, I guess the last one was Eyes in Iran, when the entire east side embankment, the 401 feet, were covered in a word called Persian Farsi Berea, which was the name of the song that was the protest song when women were particularly targeted by the Iranian government, and it was during the vote to remove the Islamic Republic of Iran from the Commission on the Status of Women in the UN, and that was one of the oldest commissions, I think in the 40s. And so that was a vote on December 16, 3 years ago. And the US ambassador to the UN at the time came for a tour. I've never seen so much security, like when we've had presidents, and it was just like, it was crazy. And she's like, that's my apartment. So I said, please don't point to your apartment. I really don't want to know where you live. There's all these swivel head men looking this way and that way. And she's like, I can read this from my apartment. What is it? So that's when we discovered that you can really see that side from
like the extended view.
Yeah, not only places like River House, where obviously billionaires live, and UN Plaza, but we also really could be seen by a lot of the UN ambassadors, because of course they're going to get the apartments facing the river. They're not going to be put in apartments facing the other way. So it became a billboard really for social rights, for social justice.
Is that nine?
I lost track. I lost count, but it was very exciting to hear about.
Well, before you came, we didn't have any events at the FDR Park before you came. You missed May 16th, 2015. Hillary Rodham Clinton declares at the park.
Oh yeah, we were there.
Yeah, we were there. And well, I luckily she was wearing bright blue. I couldn't see a thing. But I've never saw her. She came on the East Road, left on the East Road. That was it. And of course, when you look at TV and you look at media, you couldn't tell where the heck she was. There was a backdrop. And I mean, we've had so many things. But I really think before Christina's stuff, the most famous fashion show that ever took place on Roosevelt Island.
Okay, I didn't go to that. It was my third month at work, I think. I started in June, it was September.
Tell everyone what the third fashion show was.
Right, it was Kanye for his, it was Kanye's show for his Yeezy brand at the time. And Christina and I had something in common. I was a talent manager for a decade, so I spent
came out of production.
So I spent a lot of time in LA and know that world. So I knew that, well, the rest of the 14 people in the office were going over on the tram to see the show at 5 o'clock. I went to Whole Foods on 57th Street, got 2 giant shopping bags, and got in an Uber and went home. I was like, this is gonna be ugly.
Yeah.
And it was really bad, but totally open book here. But we were able to charge them because they decided on it so late, shocking, $100,000.
Yeah, great.
So that was, but it killed us in the fashion rental business because the Times was like, models fainting, the models were 14, they were barely wearing.
It was 100 degrees out.
It was 100 degrees out.
They were wearing plastic clothes.
I was home.
Christine, I'm sure you've had some fun things at your events and everything that just didn't materialize the way you planned them.
Well,
One thing I wanted to say is that being on Roosevelt Island, which I consider Manhattan light, we have so much more access to the community and all the organizations and groups. And it is actually, maybe it's because we come out of production, it's easy to pull things together here. And Howard and I have done a few things together, and City of Water Day and other great things together. And it's almost like you're using the island as a blank canvas that can be whatever you want it to be. So what was kind of fun is we've done City of Water Day in July. That's a kind of an annual day. New York and New Jersey get together and they celebrate the water awareness, everything like that. And so we've been doing it for a couple of years. And then this year we did it, and we brought in Chris Bisram, a young dancer, and he performed in the Linden Tree Alley, and the backdrop was FDR, the bust, right? And this like strong head of state, right? So as he was performing with 3 or 4 other dancers, Angela from the park, the director, said, "Oh, good, it works. We're about to do Way, and we're gonna have a dancer, and it looks really good here." And I said, "Of course it does. That's why I picked this spot, because you can see the water on both sides, the UN off to the side, you have the trees and the softness, and then the hardscape." So anyway, I find it really easy to do things here because of the relationships with RIHS and public safety, and then all the other organizations, they just like come through. We did a dinner for, 60 people, part of Belly's Bins and Beauty Initiative, where we invite a local chef to make a meal for us, and then we hear about sustainable practices, and we let people from the community share what they're doing. So it becomes eat and tell kind of thing. But I remember thinking like, oh, I don't have 75 plates, I'm gonna have to go to IKEA, this is gonna be really annoying, I'm gonna have to go on the ferry. And then a neighbor, Verna Fitzpatrick, says, "Well, I have 75 plates." I'm like, "You do?" And she said, "Wouldn't you like to borrow mine for your event?" And I'm like, yes I would. Because I can't even imagine me carrying those on a ferry back to the island. So I feel like it's very easy to get things done. But we do contend with rain, because iDig2Learn is using the outdoor spaces, the outdoor parks, Lighthouse Park and all that. So then again, we had to move a really more established global dance ensemble from the pouring rain at Lighthouse Park to indoors. And Christy Towney of the Main Street Theater said, we'll use the church, we've got that as a kind of standing thing. And I feel it's like everyone can put on a show and they come together, so I really love it. And I don't remember any horror stories actually from putting on events here. Mostly getting the word out. I feel like communication could be a lot better here, as well as getting people to come. It's mostly always free, and we just want people to come and enjoy and learn about other neighbors doing great things.
Well, I agree. I mean, we're usually good at getting the word out. Maybe it's a little late, but these organizations, and we all are. And I think that it's hard, because FDR has been open since 2012. And this is 13 years. And it's harder and harder now to promote FDR, because the FDR generation, the greatest, are dying off. I mean, we used to get a lot of people come up to the kiosk and say, "Can you get the golf cart to take these elderly people down to the park?" Now, it's almost over. I mean, anyone who comes down is really probably in a wheelchair. It's really sad to say. And so, enticing another generation, who only has heard about World War II on their phone, is really hard. I mean, how are you approaching the next generation?
I feel like I'm past.
Legend.
You're a legend. I'm a fossil.
I think we just try to keep it, you know, the Wei obviously he doesn't necessarily speak to just young people or he's not, you know, he's not JR. So it's that, I wouldn't use that as an example of reaching younger people, but we definitely try to do things to bring in audiences that, you know, we do, still doing school tours and all, FDR, blank face. You know, and I go, okay, most famous architect that I know, I.M.Pei, black, you know, blank face. Forget Luke Kahn, I never bring him up in any of those tours. I mean, I hadn't really heard of him before this job, so. So I think it's just about trying to be, the ribbon piece of this has been really fun. So Ai Weiwei, part of the concept was for folks, visitors to write on the back of ribbons, and each of the 4 freedoms has a ribbon. So I work on weekends at the ribbon table. If you want to do a ribbon, come on down. I don't get there too early, maybe like 11-ish. But it was really fun to have lots of kids at the table. They were drawing dragons and drawing, but it's a nice intro to be able to even just say the 4 freedoms: freedom of speech and expression, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. So just introducing them in that way.
Participatory, more participatory.
Yeah,
it
much
really
more.
helps.
Yeah, and I also want to say on that, your point of island partnership is that we were at the last minute pouring rain, and we were doing this fantastic poetry with Walt Whitman, right?
Yes.
With what's the group? Compania.
Compania. Yeah.
So there's an amazing woman who runs this organization, and she does lots of things around Walt Whitman. I think she's brilliant. And we had this whole event planned at the park, and it was torrentially raining. So in the morning, I called Esther. It's like, Esther, can we do this poetry slam event at the gallery?
Yes.
She's like, oh, of course. Thank you. And that's probably, I think that, because it was just, had nothing to do with the park, right? I mean, we had planned for the park, blah, 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 but it just became a complete community event, and it was really fun because it was pouring rain, and we were all in the gallery, and then there were some of the folks from your hospital.
Kohler. Yeah, we're always partnering with them. Yeah.
And some of the folks that lived there participated in reading their poetry as part of the event.
Great.
So it was none of that was my idea. Open doors, exactly. None of that had anything to do with me. I took a lot of credit. But yeah, it was really fun to be like, okay, it's at Riva. So I agree with you.
It's so helpful. It's so
You don't want to
welcoming, and everyone.
You don't want to bring a 42-foot truck over, because then you have to get escorts, and that's not easy. But that community, and also we worked with the folks that do the tango. They've done performances, 2 major performances at the park. So yeah, I think
It's like a can-do attitude. Like, we can get this done. And I always feel like everyone has our back. So, you know, we were celebrating, you probably know iDig2Learn was able to do a milestone project, the Miyawaki Method Pocket Forest. This was really big. We're also celebrating 13 years, so 2012 we both started, which is kind of interesting, stars aligned. And so, you know, 13 years of doing the school gardens and raising $2 million, navigating the monies to raise $2 million for the green roof on the school, and these other large-scale events, City of Forest Day, City of Water Day, Earth Day, all of the sudden culminated in this opportunity to bring the first in New York City's first pocket forest. And we decided to do that on Roosevelt Island. And we just had the happy birthday for the forest. And I must have been picking up on vibes from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because no, really, it was so strange. The week before, I was thinking, I need something participatory, where people who not only come to celebrate this forest, 1,500 trees, doing well, that will be a full-on grown forest in 3 years, with, you know, cake and this and that, but I need something participatory. And in my head, out of nowhere, pops in ribbons. You need ribbons. And I'm like, ribbons? And then I decided instead, because it was more Japanese, the professor Miyawaki was Japanese, and I had been to those temples with those little wooden tags where they write their wishes and place them in the temple. I went with wooden tags, but as we were prepping, I found out that that was the day of your Way fundraiser, the beginning, the opening, and I see some social media and I see ribbons. You guys handing out ribbons, and I'm like, the ribbons. But I feel like there's always this great partnership between FDR, For Freedom State Park, and the things that I get to do. In this case, it was South Point Park, but you know, we were like, we need to store our shovels somewhere. And you know, they have a little hoop shed. You know, they're like, you can put your shovels here before the event. You know, but it's things like that. That, you know, New York can be challenging in two areas, transportation and storage. And when we were doing television production, we were doing these, Producers Guild wanted to reduce waste across different television productions and movie productions because they're extremely wasteful. So we were working with Madam Secretary, and we were working with Sesame Street because of that relationship, and then Sarah Jessica Parker had that show Divorced for a while, and HBO said, you can borrow this show and reduce waste on this show, and if it goes south, we never knew you. We have no idea what you're talking about. Reducing waste, what? So it was wildly successful. And they ended up implementing lower waste, you know, not using the water bottles that were plastic, using electric cars and such in their whole West Coast production. But when we really were asked and tasked with the Mayor's Office of Film and Television, what are the needs? The hurdles are storage. So if a set breaks down, you have a lot of cool stuff that someone else can use. They have to pick it up like right now, because the set is finished, the production is off the clock. So if you don't have a place to store and or transport, those are two, I would say, big production issues in anything small or big. And to have a buddy, you know, nearby that understands that and can help out. And I say that to all the organizations that have helped iDig2Learn for 13 years. I mean, we couldn't have done any of this without partnerships.
Well, as you consult with productions, that's why there's something called Material for the Arts, where they will be given a whole warehouse of production from a TV show or a movie, and not-for-profits are invited to come and take the stuff that day. I've gone to Silver Cup, I've gone to Warner Brothers, because they want this stuff out. They don't want to warehouse it. So that's another thing, that production companies, that not-for-profits, we benefit from it.
Yes.
I benefit a lot from the Historical Society and the COVA from that. So that's another thing. I have, now, you have a very respectful audience. Let's hear some questions.
Yes.
Come on. Pat?
What's the difference between a state park and a federal park? Sorry.
We have no city parks here.
See, I always thought it was a federal.
Yeah, well, that would make sense because it's FDR. But the original idea for this, I mean, Judy can speak more to it, but really was Nelson Rockefeller. He was a huge FDR fan. Gave him his really first few, not like he needed jobs, but it gave him his first jobs in the public arena. And it was really, he was governor, and he chose Lucan, and it was really him. So from the very beginning, it was supposed to be a state. It was supposed to be a state park. And federal, yeah, we don't, we have definitely a few.
Federal Hall.
Federal Hall, Statue of Liberty.
A little part of Governor's Island. Other things are federal parks, National Park Service.
The nice thing about being state on Roosevelt Island, as long as you guys are still part of the state, not getting into that controversy, is that we both report to the second floor, right? So if I have RIHS issues, like, no, I'll just call the second floor and see if they can work it out.
Explain what the second floor is.
I've never been to the second floor, but my understanding is the second floor is where the governor's senior staff, or most of the New York State governor's staff is in Albany. So it's a lot of the second floor this and the second floor that. Second floor, you have to talk to the second floor before you close the park. I'm like, okay, here's the good news, South Point Park is closed. So we don't have to talk to the second floor. Because you can't get, because the gate is locked. So I don't need to call the second floor. Yeah, we're really very, very stable.
Another question?
Yeah,
Bobby?
Christina, could you talk a little bit about your iDig2Learn with school students?
In what way exactly?
Well, what the program consists of and how you do it?
Oh, sure. So iDig2Learn started on Roosevelt Island, mostly because if it failed, I didn't want anyone to know. So and that's why the kids call me Miss Christina, just in case. iDig2Learn started with this concept. I was working in television. Back in the day, you weren't editing on your laptop. You were in a dark room that looked like a submarine for weeks and barely came up for air. And I kept thinking, I love gardening, I love outdoors. What is my soul supposed to be doing, right? So I was thinking, like, if I could get children, I'm already good with kids in children's television, if I can get them outside, and I kind of was thinking, like, from screen time to green time, really get them back outdoors, then I'd have fun, they'd have fun. But now I didn't have the venue to do that. So the origin story for iDig2Learn in 2012 was I went to lunch with a broadcast friend who was on-camera talent in Belgium. And I said, listen, I really want to transition, I want to get out. And she's like, well, here's a grant to do a school garden program. Why don't you apply for the grant? And I said, oh, I don't know how to do a grant. And she said, just answer the questions. And I said, oh, I could do that. So I answered the questions, but before I filled out the grant, I thought I need a space to do it in. So I went over to the youth center and said, listen, I noticed you have a courtyard that has not been used in a while. I'd love to get a grant to upgrade it and bring children here and start showing them where a carrot comes from. And they said, yeah, great, go talk to the school. And I talked to the school and they're like, yeah, great. I'm like, well, that was easy, okay. And so I applied for the grant, my very first grant, and I got it. And then we started with second graders teaching the origin of food. And I thought, and so my time at Sesame also taught me this, strong, healthy bodies and minds come from what you put inside. So if you're fueling children with good food that doesn't have pesticides or chemicals because you're growing it, not only do you get the magic of recognizing that the carrot comes from the ground and you can use carrot tops for soup, but you want to eat it if you've planted it and grown it. And this is early childhood, lifelong habits and skill sets for life. So just to wrap up that story, I would say that later I asked the youth center head, you didn't know me, like, why did you let me do that? Like, that's very random. And I was told 50 people a week come in with great ideas, no one has followed through. I'm like, oh, but I'm a producer. Like, if I make up the idea and I put it out there, I'm gonna do it. But I thought, wow, it's just about perseverance and follow through. And I'm like, oh, I could do that.
Rick?
So you've had a number of movies shot at the park.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, all right. So I was just wondering if you have any stories. I mean, Keanu Reeves was doing a Matrix there.
No, that was John Wick.
Oh, John Wick.
Did
Yeah, that was
John Wick.
Yeah.
There's 2 days of John Wick 4 that you haven't seen.
Oh, fantastic.
Really one of the,
I love
I
it.
mean,
Amazing.
cinema doesn't get better than
No.
the John Wick
Never.
series.
Yeah. So good.
We've shot a bunch of movies. A few years ago we shot a movie with an Indian movie with Indian stars in Indian, and it was a really interesting experience because it was like no, you can't stop the people from walking, it's a public park. You can do it 2 minutes at a time, and they would be like, no,
Wanting exclusive use.
yeah, exclusive. I was like, no. So it was just an interesting cultural experience because I'm very familiar with U.S. production, and it's very,
We're used to rules.
Thank you, I was gonna say professional, but rules, lots and lots of rules, because it's union, and there's very big notes, and also, if you're a grip, you can't touch this thing.
Oh, no.
And if you're,
No,
you know,
no
and-
part, no.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that was a very interesting experience, and I was like, and it was like one of the most famous stars, and I actually watched, it was a sequel, and I watched the first one on YouTube, I thought it was really great, so I was excited, but I was leaving and walking by the Graduate Hotel, and there were like 300 people outside the Graduate Hotel waiting for the star to exit the lobby.
Yeah.
And I was like, I guess they were telling me the truth, he really is a big star.
Vegas,
He is a big star. Yeah, I mean, probably more TV, a lot of the local TV shows. Yeah, it's been, when we just did, I signed an NDA, but I didn't.
Oh, no.
It's over. We did something.
It's over.
We did something with Apple. That was.
Apple TV.
No, Apple, the products.
Ah.
For their internal use, and that was an overnight shoot. So they didn't start shooting until midnight.
Right.
So that was a lot of conversations with Inspector Coleman. A lot.
Where was that?
It was they were doing just a guy, and they wanted one of the executives, I don't think it was Tim Cook, it was an executive talking about one of the products that they recently launched in the last month, but they shot and they were talking about the product, and we had everyone on set, everyone involved had to give their phone over, and we got it taped and registered so that we could use the phone for pictures. And then there was a point where it was like, everyone out of the park was like, well, we can't actually leave the park. It's our fiduciary duty. Did you read your contract? Of course, you don't ever read some contracts. But yeah, the Apple shoot was really fascinating because it was some of the biggest equipment that I'd seen. And
Wow, really?
yeah, it was really giant.
How many cameras?
I don't even know. It was
And
massive.
what did the park do for them, and why did they choose?
We're a
that?
venue. I think a lot of people really love that view to Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of our unique value
And the
proposition.
water. At
So you got
night,
the
that would be
water,
beautiful.
it's really
Reflection.
beautiful, and they got
Yeah.
the sunrise on the, from Queens. So I think it's, our unique value proposition, why people come and spend a ton of money for a location venue, is that we have those views, and a lot of fashion photo shoots just because of the angularity and the clean lines in the park. So we used to do Victoria's Secrets a lot, but we've done, Oscar did a big photo shoot there, Oscar de la Renta, his company. And so we've done, I think it's, across the board, but yeah, it's unique. It's unique, and it's also,
Beautiful space.
and because we're state, it's easier often than it is to shoot on city land.
Yeah.
So
that's
they're
what-
all very excited that we're not a city park and that this is not a city.
I mean, one other thing I would say too is because we are New York State here for the term that we are, the lease from the city, I don't think residents fully grasp the access we have without having to go to Albany. I mean, it is incredible that we have like a home office on Roosevelt Island where we can pitch ideas and immediately get feedback and then have support from grounds and PSD for safety and for implementation and then RIHS communications. I mean, we're really lucky to have that access. I love when it's New York State, New York State.
That's interesting. The only property that's not RIHS is the land around the visitor center. I have to contract my own person to take care of the land around the visitor center. RIHS will not,
I remember
not
you.
permitted.
You convinced me to water
Yeah, that's
for
true.
a while.
Anyhow, I think
Yeah.
this is most fascinating. I think we found out a lot about FDR Four Freedoms Park and how
State
about
Park.
State Park. And we will not discuss the great flower show.
CJ Henry's flowers?
Flower
Why
show.
wouldn't we?
I still have her flowers in my house. That was a fiasco that
It was
FDR,
completely my fault. I'd like to take full responsibility for that.
and Christina, I mean, everything you do is amazing.
Oh my goodness.
And, listen, the
Same back
last 7 weeks, Roosevelt Island has been reborn. That's all I'll say. Because we have a new president of RIHS who actually has attended at least 4 events that I've been at. He was at Kohler the other day. He was at the Miyake Forest. And I mean, hopefully this is the beginning of a new era. We don't have anyone occupying the second floor of Blackwell House anymore, except maybe some ghosts. So I thank both of you.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
And thank you.
I just want to thank Judy Berdy for everything that she does. Please. She will soon be honored Wednesday night by Triba, and well deserved. So thank you for putting this together. Thank you for everything you do. Anyone can call, and like I found a picture of women growing cabbage in front of what's now Good Shepherd. I mean, it's just so exciting to have this history and then work together into the future. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.